Yeah, I think tonight was a very tough night. I told Chris this like in the first half. I thought we were gonna win 7-0. We were doing all the right things, and it was just one of those days. Speaking of Georgie, it's just like things aren't coming off in the box. It's the final touch, final pass, final shot. So it was just a frustrating day, and we came up against a very clinical side. Portland has some great players, and they punished us for the few mistakes we made tonight. So it was obviously a very frustrating night, but I think Chris said it best. Like, we can't be frustrated about it. We're doing all the right things. We have another game against a good side next week, so we just got to get things together, train hard, and be ready for next week.
Reggie, it's becoming a bit of a trend to concede right before halftime, right after halftime. Just, is there something that needs to be better from an effort or an execution standpoint for you?
The effort's fine. The effort's there. Guys giving 200% on the field. I think it's more of just a mentality thing. I think we have a lot of experience out there, but we also have a lot of young guys. So I think it's just about finding the balance, finding the mix. It's something that's very frustrating on our end, because we play such a good half and then boom, down on the front foot. So, and then we're chasing the game in the second half, and obviously we put more numbers forward and they punish us more. So I think it's just about closing out the half. We have such a good back line, we have such a good team this year. So I think it's just going to be about like finding the right mentality, the right headspace, and just managing that better.
Reggie, we've seen the team's been a little bit thin at fullback with Casey out, but it's been you and Keegan, and you guys have switched a little bit. Who's more on the more comfortable side, the right and the left? How comfortable are you guys with maybe the lack of depth or lack of bench options, just going out there and falling out at fullback?
Yeah, I'm not worried about it at all. I think we have such good players in both positions. Keegan's obviously Superman; he can do it all. I played left back last year. I think for us, like, it's more about like who's going to step up and take the opportunity, take that role. And I think guys are ready to do that. And as you've seen from Keegan, me, Ian, like, we're hungry, and it's just part of the group that we have. I think guys are ready to step into those positions, and obviously when Vineton comes back, when Jackson comes back, when all these guys come back, when we get everyone healthy, it's going to be looking like a dangerous team, and guys are going to be competing for position. So you always love depth. Like, that's what makes what is going on. Sorry. Depth is like, that's what makes a team great. They're fighting for each position, making sure that you perform week in, week out. That's something you can only attest to. And Chris has got such a good roster of guys coming together, so it'll all come together at the right time.
Reggie, a different face in Adam behind you tonight, from his performance against Austin last year in Decision Day to now. How have you seen his growth and him stepping up just throughout the week to get really prepared for this game? Obviously, the scoreline didn't fully portray his efforts in the back tonight, but what did you see from that?
Yeah, like, I have the utmost praise for Adam. Like, he's such a hard worker, such a good kid. He's got such an amazing career ahead of him, and he's got one of the best guys in the league to look up to, Zach Steffen. So I'm so proud of him, man. He didn't have much to do tonight. Unfortunately, it's just the mistakes cost us. But he's such a good player, man. Such a good kid. He's got a great head on his shoulders. Like, I can't sing his praises enough. Like, I'm so excited to see what happens in his career and his future, because he's got such a bright future ahead of him.
How's his voice? How's his leadership?
Surprisingly, like, it's sharp, dude. Like, you'll turn around and be like, "Who is that?" Like, he's vocal, man. I love it. And he's coming up to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do," like, dude, I love it. Like, he's such a talker, and that's something that shows like his personality. Like, it's gonna be a key point going forward.
I was also impressed with his distribution tonight, especially on the long ball. Found Kevin on one minute.
Yeah, he's very comfortable with both feet. Like I said, like, he's got a great person to look up to, and he's got a great foundation already. So I can't sing his praises enough.
Reggie, we saw last year, and some of this was a little bit before you had joined the club, the team was really good defensively when they were a little bit more preventative. And so obviously there's letting in the open opportunities where if the ball's hit really well, Kelsey has a volley and there's nothing stopping that. Is there anything in retrospect maybe you guys could have done a little bit better job to prevent Portland from getting in those areas that then led to the pass before the pass?
Yeah, for us, it's really about the second balls. Like, Portland was very good at that tonight. I think in the first half, like, the reason we got most of those chances is when we're hitting the ball forward, we're ready for the second balls, we're ready to win it back, and we're ready to counter press, and that's something that's obviously big with Chris, and we've worked on it incredibly hard. And in the second half, they were winning those second balls and getting to those first, and it just put us under a lot of pressure. And obviously we put out a lot of fires, but it's just the couple that they put away, and they're clinical, like I said. So I'm not frustrated about tonight as a whole. I think the right things were there. We're doing the right things, and I think it'll come. It's obviously a frustrating night to lose 3-0. And obviously, like, Rafa loves to get goals. Richie loves to get those assisting goals. It's just one of those nights, man, where things didn't come off, and obviously the back line's frustrated. But we're doing the right things, and you could tell like there's something there. It's just gonna come together at the right time.